For decades, cigarette advertising sold a lot more than just cigarettes. It sold sophistication, independence, adventure, freedom, even health. And that wasn't accidental. But the irony is the ads sold people the image of the very things the product could eventually rob from them. And today, I think we can observe a similar marketing inversion within the consumer credit industry. These companies don't advertise the total interest you'll pay or show you the contractual claim they have on your future income you haven't even made yet. They show you the new truck, the vacation, the upgraded apartment, the feeling that you've finally made it. Now, I'm not saying that a credit card is a cigarette. Credit can be useful, and many of us live with things like a mortgage, a modest car payment, a small business loan, and these are things that can actually add real value. The debt I'm most concerned with is the type of debt that's used to finance the immediate appearance and sensation of wealth. And if you're thinking, great, here's another person who wants me to sacrifice the life I want to live at age 25 so that maybe 40 years from now I can finally live the life I want, just know that's not where I'm going. The real cost of consumer debt can show up much sooner than you think. It shows itself in the job you hate but can't leave, or the risk you'd love to take but don't feel like the timing is right, or the idea you'd love to pursue but can't because your next month's income is already allocated to paying for last year's decisions. Because when you finance the appearance of wealth, the price you pay isn't only interest. You're exchanging some of your future optionality for instant gratification today. Hey, I'm Paxton, and I spent the past 5+ years working in financial services at companies like Betterment, JP Morgan, and Empower. Now I'm building my own personal finance app called Threshold Money. And today I want to talk about consumer debt. Most conversations around consumer debt start at the individual level. How to avoid it, how to get out of it, and whether you use the snowball method or the avalanche method. Those conversations matter, and there's some excellent content out there that breaks down the nuances of how to actually get out of debt once you're in it. But what I want to do is spend some time looking at the other side of the transaction, the system that makes debt feel easy, normal, aspirational, and sometimes indistinguishable from true wealth. All right, let's get into it. To start, imagine two different people. The first drives a used car that was paid off years ago. Their house is comfortable, but it probably wouldn't look that great on Instagram. They take vacations, but those trips are paid in full before they go. Nothing about this person is trying hard to look wealthy. The second person drives a newer, more expensive car. Their apartment is nicer, their trips look better, they have the clothes, the new tech, and that platinum credit card. If you had to guess who is wealthier, you might choose the second person, and you might be completely wrong. Because underneath those lifestyles, their money could be moving through totally different pipelines. For the first person, they manage their income in a way that creates margin. They use that margin, those extra dollars, to invest and buy assets for the long term. Over time, those assets compound, and eventually owning those assets means that they have more future options available to them. That optionality might mean leaving a job, absorbing an emergency, caring for a family member, starting a business, or just changing their mind. The visible lifestyle may look incredibly modest, but more of their future still belongs to them. With the second person, their future income is already assigned to debt payments. That pipeline looks like sacrificing your future income for something you want today, owing payments to account for that past consumption, and thus having less options available in the future. They may look wealthier today, but maintaining that appearance requires income they haven't earned yet. And that's the distinction I want to make that's at the core of this video. One person owns assets that expand their choices. The other owes payments on things that mimic success. Sometimes the person who looks like they have less is actually the person whose future still belongs to them. And I actually felt this personally. I had just started a new job that came with a significant raise. I needed to commute to this new job, and at the time we only had one car, and I started to get the itch for a new truck. We ended up buying one and financed a large chunk of that purchase at a pretty high interest rate. The payment wasn't the problem. We could afford it without any issues, and I don't actually think that buying the truck was an outright mistake. But soon after the purchase, I could feel the weight of the monthly payments looming over us for the next few years. So instead of just making the minimum payments for the lifetime of the loan, we decided to hunker down, and were luckily able to pay it off within about a year and a half. And looking back, I felt the cost of these payments not just in the interest, but in the feeling that I'd already sacrificed a bit of my future income before it even arrived. Fast forward a couple years, and Here I am starting my business, having left a comfortable, predictable salary. And I wonder, could I have done it if I still had the truck payment? Would I have done it if I still had the truck payment? Probably. But I do think it would have been a more difficult decision. The debt didn't instantly make us poor, but it did make one specific future outcome feel a little less available. And in my experience, this is a better way to understand and think about debt, even when the monthly payments are affordable on paper. So let's get into the industry of consumer credit. How is it that you're able to sell someone less future freedom and make it seem like more freedom today? Well, you just remove the waiting and replace it with instant gratification. Then you move the consumer's attention away from the total price. What credit does at its core is collapses the distance between wanting something and having it. That distance used to force you to save, plan, reconsider, or just walk away. Consumer debt monetizes the removal of that pause. So a $1,200 purchase becomes 4 easy payments of $300. A $45,000 vehicle just becomes $699 a month. The total sticker price is likely still disclosed, but it's not the number that your attention organizes around. And the research shows that this change in framing actually affects real decisions. In one experiment, people chose between a $360 hotel room and a $440 hotel room. One group saw those prices divided into 4 separate payments: $90 a payment for the cheaper room and $110 a payment for the more expensive one. Another group saw them divided into 8 payments: $45 for the cheaper room or $55 for the more expensive one. In the 8 payment group, 45% of participants chose the more expensive room, whereas in the 4 payment group, only 27% of participants chose that upgraded room. And what this is getting at is the consumer credit industry doesn't make expensive things cheaper, it makes the total price less visible. More precisely, it moves the total obligation of the purchase into the background and brings the seemingly manageable monthly payment into the foreground. And when we're talking about this system, I think one thing people miss is that there's not just one company out there who's designing a giant debt trap. There are multiple parties in this system, and the system requires each party to optimize for its specific part in the transaction. So for example, the advertiser wants desire, the retailer wants the sale, the lender wants a performing loan, the payment network wants the transaction fee, and the buy now, pay later provider might earn from the merchant, interest, servicing, or selling the loan. They don't all need you to be in debt forever, and a default on a loan is generally bad for the lender. But nearly every participant in the system benefits when transactions happen sooner, get larger, are easier, and when financing happens more often. That system is optimized for the immediate transaction. You are the only one responsible for understanding how that transaction affects your future freedom. Premium credit cards make this especially visible. They barely even advertise borrowing. What they do advertise is admission, a quieter airport, a luxury hotel, a scarce dinner reservation. In short, it's status. And to be fair, those benefits can be real. If you pay the statement in full each month and the credits go towards spending that you would have done anyway, a premium card can be perfectly rational. But the key here is that access to wealthy spaces is not the same as owning wealth. Federal Reserve researchers have found that premium credit cards can induce more spending and leave less sophisticated customers with higher running balances. So if the benefit replaces spending, it can be valuable. If it creates spending that sits on a balance, your future income is subsidizing your current image. And the economics here are not small at all. In 2024, US cardholders were assessed $160 billion in interest, and about half of credit card accounts carried a balance. And that's where things start to fragment. The data show that nearly 2/3 of buy now, pay later borrowers have overlapping loans. And about 1/3 of these borrowers used multiple providers at the same time. So the retailer sees the conversion of a purchase. Each lender sees one loan, but the consumer lives with the cumulative claim that these companies have on their future. Okay, now I want to call out that in conversations like this, a fair pushback comes up. Why give up something you genuinely want today just so you can have more money when you're 60 or 70 years old? And I agree with part of that. The goal isn't to deny yourself everything and die with the most amount of money money possible. Money, in a perfect world, actually supports your ideal lifestyle. Spending it on something you genuinely value isn't a failure of personal discipline. Sometimes the truck or the trip may be worth it. But the alternative isn't always have more money now versus have way more money at age 70. Any amount of financial margin is immediately useful. It simply lowers the income that your life required, and that can allow you to take more risks in the near term. That's what the truck experience I shared taught me. Having one less fixed payment to worry about made it just a little bit easier for me to take the leap of leaving my job and starting this business. So the honest choice isn't the truck I want now versus some vague number 20 years from now. It's the truck payment versus every other potential use of that payment, even the ones you haven't thought about yet. And let me be clear, you can still choose the truck if you want to, but now you're making that choice with the full trade-off visible. I do want to be clear though about what this argument means and what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that we as individuals have no agency. It doesn't make a debt balance someone else's responsibility or eliminate the work required to get out of debt. But if millions of people repeatedly fall into the same pattern, everyone lacked personal discipline probably isn't a sufficient explanation. These purchase decisions happen in an environment that's designed to intensify desire, reduce friction, fragment the cost, and make future obligations feel smaller. And understanding that environment isn't an excuse to stay in debt, but it helps you stop mistaking an engineered pattern for a character defect and start making decisions with the full exchange of a transaction visible. Getting out of consumer debt isn't just cleaning up an old mistake. It's the process of buying your future income back, and thus buying back more future optionality in your life. Every debt obligation you eliminate is another piece of your future that you own. This idea of buying future income back is how I've been thinking about the debt paydown goal feature in Threshold. So I've pulled up our demo account here, and we're going to look at a hypothetical $22,000 student loan balance. So what I'm going to do is toggle over to build mode, tap plus goal debt paydown, and now there's just a couple of steps where we can configure this goal. Threshold pulls up all the liability accounts I have connected. I'm going to choose that student loan, tap next, and now we can select when we want to be debt-free. So the typical lifetime of a loan for student loans is about 10 years. So let's say instead of 10 years, you wanted to pay that down in 5. So we'll put July of 2031. Next, we can adjust the inputs and see how our plan affects the projection of whether or not we're off track for paying this off. So here we have pre-filled what a standard interest rate and minimum payment might look like on a student loan. And there's the ability to add an extra monthly payment on there, right? So before we add an extra monthly payment amount, let's see what the projection looks like if we only pay the monthly minimums. So I toggle over, and instead of being debt-free 5 years from now, we can see that it puts us at the standard 10-year time horizon. So not meeting our goal there, right? We're gonna have to pay down some extra each month. So let's say that we can spare an extra $200 a month, putting our total monthly payment of this loan at $460. When I go over to the projection, this actually puts us 2 months ahead of our goal. And the cool thing about Threshold is it shows you, according to this plan, how much you'll save in interest. So in this scenario, we save about $6,000 in interest compared to just paying those minimums across the loan's lifetime. So when I feel good about those inputs, I tap create goal. It will add it to the canvas here. And when I go back over to view, I can see this debt paydown goal alongside my other goals. When I open that, I can see my progress and the same forecast graph that we walked through in the creation steps. If we want to edit those at any time, we can. Let's say, we could actually spare an extra $250 a month to pay down. Threshold will update that in real time, and we can see now we're actually 8 months ahead of schedule. All right, so to wrap things up and go back to those old cigarette ads, we see those now and they feel a bit crazy because we've learned to interpret what's being unsaid and being left outside the frame. And my claim is that maybe the next time we see something like 4 easy payments of $300 or only $6.99 a month, it deserves the same second look that we give to those old cigarette ads. Every credit offer tells you what's possible today. The harder question is what becomes less possible tomorrow. The goal isn't to preserve every dollar for the sake of it, it's about preserving a larger slice of your future. So yes, spend on things that make your life genuinely better today. Take risks, try something that might fail. Just be careful when the system and industry around consumer credit offer you more freedom today, but reduce the ability to change course in the future. Wealth isn't just the ability to buy something. It's not starving yourself now and waiting to live 30 years down the road. It's keeping yourself able to change how you live at every step of the journey between today and retirement. If this sounds interesting to you and you'd like to explore managing your own finances in this way, I'll put a link to the Threshold Money waitlist in the description below. Join that and you'll get notified as soon as it goes live later this summer. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate the time and I will see you in the next one.